So good to see you, Rainn.
Nice to see you, Paul.
Welcome back to the New York Theater.
Here I am.
Look at that. You went and became a star on TV, and then they welcome you back. That's what happens.
That was a little bit of my thinking when I went to LA. It was like, hey, if I'm ever going to play Mercutio at the public, I'm going to need to go get a TV show and then come back and get that role. Now I'm too old to play Mercutio, I think. I'd be the oldest living Mercutio. But I love it. This is an amazing opportunity for me.
So we are in the bowels of City Center in a rehearsal room, and you are throwing together very quickly Urinetown for City Center Encores.
The way they do theater here at City Center Encores is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It's like summer stock on Broadway with less than 2 weeks rehearsal, and then we're thrown up in front of 2,200 people in the audience.
Keeps you on your toes at this point in your career, huh?
It is something. But also for me, the last musical I did was, you ready? Fasten your seatbelts, Broadway. 40 years ago, I was Judd Fry in Oklahoma and New Trier High School.
Wow.
That's the last musical I've done. So this is all very new to me.
Another baddie. Although just a misunderstood guy, really. Oh, Judd Fry.
So is Cladwell. Cladwell's just a
misunderstood. Okay, let's talk about this guy.
A little bit.
Let's say his full name. I love his full name.
Caldwell B. Cladwell.
Right.
Yes.
And you're in a land of a lot of pee jokes.
Yes.
A lot of pee jokes. Mm-hmm. You run the Urine Good Company.
Urine Good Company.
Urine Good Company. And he is the bad guy, but you're saying he's actually misunderstood. Is that true of all bad guys?
Well, I think you can't play a character as like the bad guy,
Yeah.
So there are some clues in there that he was tasked during an immense drought with like saving this community. And one of the ways that he's done that is taxing peeing and using that money for research and to help, keep the money in the ground and not waste money with all that unnecessary flushing. And so, he views himself as having done a very good deed, that he's got a relationship with this community, and he's not averse to cash, piles and piles of cash, and the occasional trip to Rio. But corruption aside, he feels like he's doing a good deed for the town. And spoiler alert, at the end of the musical, things don't necessarily work out as well as one would like in a Broadway musical.
Right. Correct. It's a full story for him, for this guy. And, I guess you're kind of known for playing these. I mean, Dwight, of course, on The Office is also kind of, is he the bad guy? Is he the antagonist? Sure. I mean, but also very endearing. And I mean, you've sort of made a brand of these kinds of guys, I guess, starting with, Judd Fry.
There you go. I don't know if it's a brand of that, but I definitely found my niche playing offbeat character guys. And I think a lot of the offbeat character guys are often villains or villainous or antagonists, and they're also the most fun.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
I've heard you over the years. You love to sort of tell people like, well, I am a theater person. I spent many years in New York doing theater, and I love that. And I love that you're back, and I love that you're in an environment like this. What's it like to be a part of an ensemble like this? You just met all these wonderful actors, and you're throwing this together. Does it sort of remind you of the early days and like back in school? And
it absolutely does. I mean, I just feel like theater people are my people, and I just love the eclectic nature of the ensemble and the diversity and the fun and the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And it's people aren't doing it for the money, right? Mm-hmm. So they're doing it for the love of it, and they love performing, and they love being part of an ensemble and supporting each other in that ensemble. And that energy is palpable, and it's way stronger than it is on a TV show. Although I will say, on The Office, it was a great ensemble. We all supported each other, and it had a little bit of that theater feeling. And most of the actors there had come from the theater or improv background. So, but I am floored by this ensemble. The amount of talent in this group of Broadway performers is it's staggering. I mean, the choreographer will throw at them like, at 5, 6, 7, 8, and then here, and then you turn, and you spin, and you go off with a double step like this, and spin, and then they're singing 4-part harmonies, and acting and throwing out lines, and they're like, okay, let's try it. And then like, first try, they're just like, They just, and I'm just like, you know, I need some rehearsal, you know. But it's, I'm learning a lot watching them. I compared this ensemble to like professional athletes. It's like, it's like watching, you know, an NBA player come off the bench. He's just been traded to another team and hit a couple of threes and make some defensive stops and, you know, just play world-class basketball like on a dime. And that's what this ensemble is doing.
These are your people, though, theater people.
Yeah.
I heard a wonderful podcast interview with your friend Justin Baldoni, actually, and you were talking about how when you were a junior in high school, you sort of took a leap and hung out with the theater people.
Yeah.
And you said, and I thought it was really moving, you said it was the first time you ever felt like you were enough. That you really sort of like found yourself with these people, and it made you sort of like, it gave you a whole new perspective, and it actually made you wish you had done that more at that time. Can you talk about what that means? It means a lot to a lot of our viewers, you know, when they find, a lot of them find theater.
I think that how I describe it in my book, The Bassoon King, is that the theater geek is the king of the geek food chain. Because there's so many attractive people in it, right? So, because I was on the chess team, I was in Model United Nations.
Okay.
I was on the Pottery Club, Computer Club.
That's cool.
Like I drifted through all the nerdiest pursuits in high school.
Finding yourself.
Possibly do. Marching band, where I played the xylophone. That's not very sexy. And then exactly that. I moved to this new high school outside of Chicago. New Trier High School has a very well-known theater program. And took an acting class, and people were just so warm and encouraging. And I did a play, and it was the same thing. And it was like, it was all of these misfits, and they'd found their home. And it's kind of a cliche, but it's also true. And, you know, gay, straight, tall, short, fat, skinny, pimply, not, you know, model looks. Everyone was equal and accepted. And I just felt like, I just felt in my bones like I'm home. These are my people. And also like, I love making people laugh. I love telling stories. I love supporting other people and telling stories. And there's something about, hey, we're in this together. Let's put on a show. There's that ensemble nature where sometimes you're going to sacrifice of yourself for others is an essential part of making theater as well.
You've really made a name for yourself also for your life beyond acting and sort of living intentionally and doing good in the world. And, you know, there's a lot of the word soul, right? So there's your brand, Soul Pancake, your book, Soul Boom. I heard a fantastic interview of you on Oprah's Super Soul Sundays. The word soul follows you around a lot.
A little bit.
And it's been a whole other sort of part of your life, and really living intentionally, having sort of a purpose. Do you apply that to your acting? I mean, do you apply that to the work that you want to do as an actor and the work you want to put out there and Urinetown?
Yeah, well, a couple of things to say about that. I think that no matter what work people are doing in the world, if you align your work to service, if you hitch it to service, a couple of things are going to happen. More and more doors are going to open. You're going to find a deeper sense of satisfaction, of soul satisfaction. And you will get better at what you do. So there are selfish reasons to align the work you do, whether you're a videographer, whether you're an interviewer and host, whether, you know, an actor, an accountant, a school teacher, a bus driver, it doesn't really matter. And that's how it took a while for me, because I did spend a lot of time in my acting pursuit of just being like kind of ferociously competitive, you know, and just wanting to build, ambitious, and just wanting to build like the perfect career and be the biggest possible star. And that can get kind of ugly, and it's ultimately really not very satisfying. But when I can hitch storytelling, acting, making people laugh to service, then it is incredibly satisfying. And there's something ancient and beautiful about an audience of people, flickering lights, storytellers, and this kind of communal experience that I think is beautiful and ancient and important. I know that sounds a little pretentious, but I do. I think it's important. And I had this amazing teacher at NYU, Zelda Fitzhandler. She's the founder of the Arena Stage, kind of one of the grand dames of the American theater. And actually, she has a couple of books that came out posthumously last year. I highly recommend them. And she would always talk about actors as shaman. And a shaman is not just a storyteller. It's a truth teller, a truth sayer, a stand-up comic, a political commentator, and a spiritual guide with, one foot in the mystical realms. And so I think that actors are not just like, I show up, here's my next set of lines to say, I'll transform into this character, get my paycheck and move on. That there's something about the actor that we can reach farther than just that and bring more to the whole enterprise.
I got to see you do Waiting for Godot at Geffen Playhouse last year, not that long ago. And that when you do a play like that, that feels like that's very much in line with sort of bigger questions, right? And you got to sort of explore big questions every night with an audience.
Yeah.
So I assume that some things sort of give you extra motivation to want to get up on stage.
Every night before doing Waiting for Godot, which by the way was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was so challenging. The language and the timing and the amount of attention and concentration that it required to do. The physicality was brutal. But every night I would be like, universe, allow me to tell this incredible story with these incredible characters and this amazing language, because it provokes questions and it helps illumine a little bit about the human condition. And Godot does that. There's a reason why you have this play in which nothing happens twice, which is famously said about it, why people just keep coming back to it. Yeah. First of all, it's funny. If you do it right, it's funny, and you're going to get a lot of laughs. But he gets in there somehow. He gets his finger on the pulse of the human condition in some really deep and dark ways, but strangely hopeful ways too. I do not think that Godot is simply a pessimistic take on the meaninglessness of life. I think that's a cop-out. There's a lot more to be excavated there. So yeah, anytime I can do something like that has extra reverberations, I'm game. And Urinetown, as silly as it is, has something to say. And it has something to say about our current cultural landscape. Yeah. And it is addressing authoritarianism and rebellion and finding your mission and how that mission can go off base and how that can, the naivete of following your dreams and your passion can explode in your face, even despite the best intentions. There's some meaty stuff underneath this very frothy satire.
Broadway is getting ready for Bill and Ted's excellent Beckett adventure.
Yes.
And I know that Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter actually came and saw your performance. Did you give them a handbook on how to pull it off? Or
it was, what a testament to them that they came and saw our Godot and had a meeting with us and the director, and we had a 45-minute, hour-long conversation about how to do Godot and what not to do. And they were so curious and investigative about it. And it's not like, they're gonna, and by the way, we said to them like, hey, any of our bits that you like to take them, it's fine. But I really applaud what they're trying to do. I think a lot of people are gonna hear like, Bill and Ted are doing Beckett on Broadway, that's bullshit. But no, these are two excellent actors, really smart actors that have been taking a good year to explore Samuel Beckett. And they really want to excavate it and learn and make a rip-roaring production. And it was just a pleasure to be fellow Beckett enthusiasts talking about the challenges and the ups and downs and the rewards of doing Beckett.
Again, theater people. It's just theater people hanging out and figuring it out together. I love that.
Right.
Can you just tell me briefly, I love thinking about, you've talked about the time before you got the office. There was a good 10, 15 years of you walking these streets of New York City that you're now walking again to come to rehearsal here. doing a lot of great off-Broadway. I saw you at the Delacorte Theater. I didn't realize I saw you in some productions. I saw the new Bozina, which is a play you directed.
You saw the Bozina?
I saw the new Bozina.
Oh, you are a theater
That was like
fan.
it was like the vaudeville.
Yeah.
The slacker vaudeville, right? It was cool. Yeah, that was a cool show. And I didn't realize you directed it until I was getting ready for this. So you were really in the theater world back then. What do you, when you look back on those days and that guy who I know was having a hard time figuring out how he was going to make a life and a career, how do you look back on it? And what is it like looking at it from today? And are you thinking about that guy now that you're sort of back in New York doing this?
I think about that guy every day, and I am so grateful for those years. Like, I got to live my dream. I wanted to be an actor. I was this nerdy chess-playing doofus from suburban Seattle, and went to a high school in Chicago that had a good theater program, studied a few years of theater. I got into NYU grad acting program, got some amazing training there from Zelda Fichandler and Ron Van Loo. And there were a couple of directors and folks like Margot Harley from the acting company that put me in gave me my equity card doing bus and truck tours of Shakespeare for 2 years. And I got to live my dream, and I got to hone my craft for years and years doing experimental plays and comedies. I did Eugene O'Neill at the Arena Stage. I worked at the Guthrie Theater many, many times. And like you said, at the same time, I had a lot of struggles. I had a lot of mental health struggles. I had a lot of anxiety and depression. I had addiction issues with drugs and alcohol. And so I was trying to navigate that as well. There were times when I felt extremely lost. There was times I felt like, Rainn, why the hell are you unhappy? You are living your dream. You're living in this gorgeous, cheap apartment in Brooklyn with your beautiful girlfriend, now wife. You know, you're doing plays and working with, some of the greatest. You're working with Richard Foreman to Jerry Zaks and some of the greatest, Joe Dowling, some of the best directors out there. And yet you're unhappy. What's going on? And that was kind of like part of what coaxed my personal spiritual journey, which went hand in hand with my acting journey.
Right. And you're back.
And I'm back.
Do you see yourself?
Urinetown.
Do you want to? Well, you're singing. Yeah, you're singing.
I'm singing.
Musical.
Yeah.
Do you want to do more theater? Are we going to see more of you, or are you just popping in and disappearing?
No, I would love to do more theater. I'd love to do something on Broadway. I'm really open to doing stuff. It's hard because, like, I am but a humble minor television celebrity, Paul. And now, to do theater, you've got to be like Daniel Craig. You've got to be like James Bond, or Timothy Chalamet. You have to have Oscars, to get lead roles on Broadway. So it's even more competitive these days. But yeah, I would love to do theater. I got to work at the Steppenwolf a few years back on a great production of The Doppelganger by Matthew Lee Erlbach. That was wonderful. I did a Will Eno play, Tom Paine, at the Geffen, the one-man monologue, which was very satisfying. And I'll always just coming back to the theater. As Ingmar Bergman said, film is my mistress, but theater is my wife.
Right.
It's like, come back to your wife. You know what I mean? Don't take that the wrong way. But I'm thrilled and hope to be doing more theater in the future when I can afford to do more theater.
Well, it was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Great talking to you. Thank you.